You may be seated. Welcome. Here we all are. Thank goodness. As we gather here today in Goucher Auditorium to inaugurate Kent Devereaux as Goucher's 12th president, we are so grateful. We are grateful for the advances in science and public health that have allowed us to respond to this pandemic and ensure the safety of students, faculty, staff, and guests as we gather amidst a return to campus. We are grateful for community, the depth and possibility embedded in our relationships as we reconnect with colleagues, friends, teachers, and students. We are grateful for leadership, for all the adaptation, planning, coordination, and resilience it has taken to get our college to this moment, poised for a future full of possibilities. And we are grateful simply to be alive, present in body, mind, and spirit as we join in celebrating this day, this moment. There's a Jewish blessing called the Shehechianu, my absolute favorite one that I'll offer. It feels so appropriate for today. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyalim l'zman hazeh. Blessed are you, Creator, power of the world, source of life, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season. Kent, as you have said, the third time's a charm. In Goucher College's 136th year, today we inaugurate you as our college's seasoned president. Unlike in prior inaugurations, we have the advantage of getting to know you as you have guided our ship over the last 2+ years through a period of change and challenge. One thing we have seen and appreciate greatly is your unflappability. You are no stranger to guiding institutions through transformative moments. In fact, you've done it a number of times before. Your background in music composition emerges at turns as you work to bring all sections of our community into a full and diverse harmony. Through your work here at Goucher, we have already seen you embracing challenge with creativity, finding ways to harness emerging trends to our collective advantage, and leaning into confronting bias through building awareness that leads to action, among many other things. At each transformative turn, you are focused on maintaining the core of what Goucher has always been about. As the verse from 1 Thessalonians, referenced on the Goucher shield, says, "Prove all things, hold fast to that which is good." Now, as a rabbi, I don't often get to quote from the New Testament, but I must say I kind of dig this verse. It's at the core of who we are as a college, an innovative liberal arts education that prepares students with a broad, humane perspective for a life of inquiry, creativity, and critical and analytical thinking. As you succeed, so may Goucher succeed. May we find oneness of purpose as the college community grows and changes. May we be able to face inevitable challenges with grace and ingenuity. May we find gratitude at each turn for the opportunities we are given, and may we as a community be blessed with further occasions for celebration.
Good afternoon. I'm Ann Duncan, Professor of American Studies and Religion, and your MC for this celebration. It's my honor to be a part of the official inauguration of our 12th president, Kent Devereaux. We need to acknowledge first, as we gather here today on this historic occasion, that in many ways we owe our good fortune to the communities and ancestors who have come before us. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. We pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture, and hopes of people around the world. We honor the elders of the Piscataway people whose land was seized by European colonists in the 17th century, the enslaved people who lived and worked on this very land in the 18th and 19th centuries, the extent to which we're only now coming to research and fully comprehend, land that Goucher College purchased and relocated to in the early 20th century, and upon which we gather here today to celebrate in the 21st century. Now I'd like to introduce you to the presidential party joining Kent on stage. Please hold your applause until I introduce the following. Jamie Mullaney, Goucher College class of 1995, parent class of 2022, Chief Marshal, Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs, and Professor of Sociology. Rabbi Josh Snyder, Goucher Hillel Executive Director. Reverend Mark Kelly Taylor, Senior Pastor, Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, Philadelphia. Cameron Isaacs, class of 2022, a chemistry major and a member of the men's basketball team and Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Elaine Meyer-Lee, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. Damon Highsmith, Goucher College class of 2003, President of the Alumnae and Alumni of Goucher College. Freeman A. Rabowski III, President of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. John A. Olszewski Jr., Goucher class of 2004, Baltimore County Executive. Fong Li, Goucher College class of 2003, Associate Professor of Mathematics and Community-Based Learning Faculty Coordinator. Sanford J. Unger, 10th President of Goucher College. Ruth Shapiro Lenrow, Goucher College class of 1974, Trustee and Co-Chair of the Inauguration Committee. Elizabeth Ellers, Goucher College class of 1981 and Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees. William E. Pugh II, Goucher College class of 1994, Trustee and Treasurer of the Board of Trustees. Jocelyn Reeder, Goucher College class of 2002, Trustee and Assistant Secretary of the Board of Trustees. Lisa Leiden-Stromberg, Goucher College class of 1983, Chair of the Board of Trustees. I would also like to welcome members of the Goucher College Board of Trustees: Patricia Batza, Robert Bull, Melinda Burdett, Janet Farrell, Stefano Fiore, Linda Himmelberger, Miriam Hutchins, Miriam Katowitz, Alice Pinderhughes, Faye Peleus, Rosanna Roig, Jonathan Schoenfeld, Margaret Messler-Winslow, Wendy White, and Alex Wood. Ladies and gentlemen, the presidential party. I also want to extend sincere thanks to the Westerlies and the Goucher College Chamber Singers, led by Daniel McDavid. Now I'd like to recognize some of the special guests who are here with us today. Maryland Delegate Jessica Mark Feldmark, Maryland Delegate Catherine Forbes, Maryland Higher Education Commission Secretary James Fielder Jr., Baltimore County Councilman Julian Jones Jr., Baltimore County Councilman David Marks, and Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby. Thank you for being here. In my capacity as chair of the faculty, I've had the pleasure of working closely with President Devereaux during the most challenging and most productive months of his presidency thus far. Managing to respond to a global pandemic in a way that prioritized the safety of the community, to develop and begin implementation of a new strategic plan, and to ensure the stability of the college in a time when higher education is anything but, all via Zoom, is quite an accomplishment indeed. I look forward to working together as faculty, staff, students, Board of Trustees, and alumni to continue to see the fruits of those many labors. I think I speak for the entire community in saying that after the complexities of the past year and a half, we are grateful to join together for this special occasion as we look forward to an even brighter future. During the past 2 years of Kent's presidency and through a pandemic, our community has had the opportunity to know and work closely with President Devereaux. So this afternoon, you may hear speakers refer to him as President Devereaux or as Kent. It's now my pleasure to welcome Lisa Leiden-Stromberg, class of '83, and Chair of the Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Leiden-Stromberg, graduate of the class of 1983 and chair of the Goucher College Board of Trustees. I had the distinct pleasure of co-chairing the Presidential Search Committee that selected President Devereaux with Ruth Shapiro-Lenrow, class of 1974, and Miriam Katowitz, class of 1973, both immediate past board chairs. It was clear that Kent understood the opportunities and challenges facing liberal arts colleges today and had a strong strategy for Goucher to excel. Kent is committed to the liberal arts, to the continued diversification of the student body, the development of curriculum, and the emphasis on global education. Only months after his tenure as Goucher president began, his thoughtfulness and leadership were immediately tested with the COVID-19 pandemic. Kent prioritized science and has overseen the college's complex response to the global health crisis. In addition, he helped navigate the college's quick transition to virtual learning while keeping the students, staff, and faculty supported and engaged with Goucher during unprecedented times. Kent has not lost sight on the other priorities and opportunities for the college. Kent has continued to lead the work of the college's recently launched new strategic plan themed Cultivating Global Changemakers to enhance student success, expand global education, emphasize inclusivity. He is also spearheading the year-long process to develop a new campus master plan, focusing on accessibility, sustainability, and connectivity to the community. Kent has also championed Goucher's comprehensive campaign, Undaunted, in which the college has surpassed $70 million towards its $100 million goal. The campaign underscores the pillars of a Goucher education, our people, and the moments of discovery that happen on our campus. The campaign focuses on supporting the new Science Research Center, creating professorships exemplary of academic achievement and legacy, and scholarships to provide direct and meaningful support for our students. Since launching the Undaunted campaign, we have successfully moved Frolicker Hall and built state-of-the-art facilities such as the First Year Village and the Mary Fisher Dining Center and the Evelyn Dyke-Schroedel Tennis Center. These are the buildings that are already inspiring new beginnings and unlocking new ideas. Today, a Goucher education is characterized by a holistic, integrative, interdisciplinary, collaborative learning experience that prepares and graduates globally minded individuals for a life of inquiry, creativity, analytical thinking, and complex problem solving with and among people who are different from themselves. Just as it has done for more than 135 years, this institution attracts students driven by deep curiosity, possess a strong sense of self, and place a high premium on justice. The same can be said of the Goucher faculty and staff, who are exceptional scholars and professionals, are the institution's lifeblood, and play a critical role in student success. Goucher made a huge impact on my life. I am honored to support and promote the college's mission as chair of the board, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, officially welcome Kent Devereaux to the office of Goucher College President and his wife Jan to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. It's now my pleasure to welcome Fong Lee, class of 2003, Associate Professor of Mathematics and Community-Based Learning Faculty Coordinator, who will share greetings on behalf of the faculty.
Can I take my mask off? Welcome, everyone. I'm Fong Lee, Associate Professor of Mathematics and Goucher graduate, class of 2003. I also minored in music. I have a long relationship with this institution and its faculty. So I want to tell you some stories about who the faculty are to me. And my first real impression of faculty was from my first advisory meeting. It was with Joan Morrison, who many of you remember. I was so excited. I was a first-generation college student. I had no idea what college was, and I had this piece of notebook paper with my schedule written out on it, and I walk into her office, and I hand it to her, and I'm very proud of this thing I've constructed. I looked at the entire course catalog. It was a big paper book. And she immediately looks at it, and she's like, "No, this isn't gonna work." I was crestfallen. I was shocked. She went on to say, "You're taking classes in this big 4-hour block in the middle of the day. Hey, when are you gonna eat lunch?" At 18 and very smart, I admit I had not considered that. Nowadays, I think about lunch all the time. In the end, after careful negotiations, we agreed to move one of the classes, and I would take an apple with me in my bag so that I'd have a snack before my afternoon physics class. I later learned that that extra hit of sugar was critical in passing that course. It was a long course. I also learned from that and never proposed such a tightly packed schedule to her again. Years later, on September 11th, 2001, I was in Pam Sheff's technical and professional writing course. In the middle of that course, we learned what everyone learned, and we stopped in the middle of class to watch the news, and just talk about things and reflect before ultimately canceling class, to call our loved ones and check in. And this is what really changed the way I thought about college, and that was part of the beginning of what I wanted to be when I thought of being a college professor. She shifted her entire curriculum to talking about what the country was doing. We analyzed speeches. We read the news constantly. We looked at a lot of the technical writing that was generated in the wake of the national tragedy. She challenged us. She said, yes, we are hurting, we are healing, we are anxious, but we have to get to work. And to ask us to do that at that point in our lives was transformative for me. I think I just wanted to feel sad. But she said, yes, you can feel sad, but I need you to be more right now. So now that I'm part of faculty and we've kind of been through a lot, I challenge my students to do the same thing sometimes. My own work at Goucher has called for me to engage with Baltimore directly, studying things like health access, food insecurity, transit infrastructure, all with some of the tools of mathematics and data science. To me, this is what it means to be a member of the Goucher community. As I've said to some of my students and colleagues, I have sort of a two-word definition of education taken from the higher ed scholar Ken Bain, far transfer. It's sort of taking knowledge and applying it from one setting to a radically different setting, far transfer. We make these deep intentional connections between perspectives, disciplines, people, communities, and to ourselves. And in the end, I think that's so much of what Goucher means to me and what I think Goucher means to a lot of my colleagues and faculty. It's connections. And really today is about creating, honoring, celebrating a new connection through a new president. So Kent, we're very happy to have you, and welcome to Goucher.
Thank you, Vong. It's now my pleasure to welcome Elaine Meyer-Lee, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, who will share greetings on behalf of the staff.
Thank you, Ann. And good afternoon. It is my honor today to officially welcome President Kent Devereaux to Goucher on behalf of the staff. I think I'll do that too here a little better. I've been at Goucher for over a year now, and every day I am in awe of our students, faculty, and staff. Seriously, just yesterday, in multiple meetings, I just thought to myself how lucky we are to have such rock stars working here. I believe Goucher is at its best when we invite contradictions. We are a close-knit community with a global perspective. We have small class sizes where we take on big ideas, as Fong was just talking about. Our students solve problems together as they honor their differences. It has been clear to me that staff are every bit as dedicated to Goucher's mission as faculty are. The contradiction here is that while the work of many of our staff members may not always be visible to the whole community, it is absolutely vital to the success of our students in the college. Support from a staff member can make all the difference in whether or not a student thrives at Goucher. We have people on staff enhancing our technology, managing student programs and services, keeping our spaces and buildings running, reaching out to potential students, raising funds, and so much more. Under Kent's leadership, staff and faculty alike have looked for how we can better serve our students amidst our changing world. In the last 2 years, we have added 8 new majors and 2 minors, each rooted in the liberal arts disciplines and equipping students for the global economy. We have expanded 4+1 programs with Johns Hopkins and other leading universities and are designing 3 new graduate programs for launch. We are investing in new student supports, like our Student Success team-based advising model, and the Launch Network, a program to welcome first-generation college students to Goucher and to foster an inclusive environment for them to flourish in college and beyond. We have created an exciting new micro-internship opportunity for students, which will be nested within a 4-year scaffolded internship accelerator available to all students. We have overhauled our approach to provide study abroad for all students at no additional cost, created new campus-based global education, and implemented anti-racist initiatives. Kent's leadership has been crucial to all of this growth, perhaps also in some ways that might seem contradictory. He consults widely, yet acts decisively. He dreams optimistically, but executes realistically. He has high expectations for all of us staff, while empowering us to reach them collaboratively. He thinks big picture, but attends to detail strategically. He is an artist who seeks data. He reads voraciously, answers email almost immediately, and dedicates seemingly boundless energy to brainstorming towards Goucher's prospering future, and still somehow manages to model balance with his weekend mountain biking and kayaking. In short, Kent is exactly the right leader for this exciting moment at Goucher, and I feel most privileged to serve with him. I will leave you with one final contradiction. The last few years have been extremely challenging ones for humanity. There has been a lot of disheartening news and anxiety about the future. But within a tumultuous moment, there are always opportunities. Having accomplished all of this that we have during this pandemic, the sky is truly the limit for our future. I'm grateful for all the people of Goucher College and their commitment to this wonderful, always evolving institution. Thanks to all of you, and Kent, welcome to Goucher.
Thank you, Elaine. It's now my pleasure to welcome Cameron Isaacs, class of 2022, who will share greetings on behalf of the students.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cameron Isaacs. I'm a senior chemistry major from Owings Mills, Maryland. I'd like to first take this opportunity to thank the Board of Trustees and the Office of the President for giving me this opportunity to represent the student body, as well as being a part of this ceremony today. We gather here in our beloved Croshaw Auditorium to acknowledge a new day in Goucher's history and evolution, to celebrate the inauguration of Kent Devereaux as the 12th president of Goucher College. We, the students, know best what it means to be a member of the Goucher community. We love this place because we are provided with the freedom to determine and follow our own interests while developing critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving skills. We are encouraged to be ourselves, to seek new experiences and diverse viewpoints, as well as to use our voices to express our opinions and tell our stories. President Devereaux has already embraced and embodied these principles. In a time where communication was more complex than ever before, President Devereaux used different ways to connect with students, staff, and families. Due to the pandemic, there was no Parents' Weekend or any in-person events where everyone in the community could interact with the president as usual. From countless Zoom meetings to town halls to extremely, extremely long emails. We never went too long without hearing from our fearless leader. One specific instance that resonated with me was President Devereaux's comments to us Gophers following the murder of George Floyd in the Derek Chauvin trial. He charged the Goucher community to actively engage in courageous conversations about race and our vision for our school. I've had the honor of interacting with President Devereaux and experiencing his accessibility and responsiveness to his students firsthand. On July 31st, 2020, it was determined that we would not be participating in winter sports due to the health concerns related to the pandemic. Being a member of the men's basketball team, as well as the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, this news crushed me, as well as my teammates and other winter athletes. President Devereaux allowed us to create a platform that consisted of a panel-like discussion involving fellow athletes, President Devereaux himself, the athletic department, as well as residential life coordinators, in order for students to express their concerns and to formulate a plan that would allow us to safely practice and compete amidst the pandemic. Since his appointment, President Devereaux has been a strong impact on addressing students' needs socially, emotionally, as well as academically. It is clear to me that President Devereaux's vision for Goucher College is one that will propel us into the future. To you, President Devereaux, as you settle into your new home here at Goucher, I hope you learn to love and cherish this place as much as the rest of us. I speak on behalf of the student body when I say we are so excited for what you have in store and what we can accomplish together. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. It's now my pleasure to welcome Damon Highsmith, class of 2003, president of the Alumni and Alumni of Goucher College, who will share greetings on behalf of the alumni and alumni.
Good afternoon. I'm Damon Highsmith, class of 2003, and president of the Alumni and Alumni of Goucher College, and I'm honored to represent them here today. When Kent arrived on Goucher's campus in the summer of 2019, he did not waste any time packing up and traveling coast to coast to personally introduce himself to as many of our more than 20,000 alumni and alumni that he could during his presidential welcome tour. And while some of the in-person events transitioned to virtual events due to the pandemic, they still provided a wonderful opportunity for Kent to connect with Kent personally. Personal connections have always been at the heart of a Goucher education. The small class sizes, the close-knit community, and having access to college leadership. Kent's emphasis on those personal connections have been evident to me since he arrived on campus. After meeting Kent during his presidential welcome tour, I next encountered Kent during one of my favorite days of the school year, New Student Move-In Day. We were assigned to the same team, and as we unloaded car after car and welcomed families of first-year and transfer students to campus, I noticed that Kent seemed to focus exclusively on getting to know the newcomers to campus. I never saw Kent introduce himself by name or by title, no name tag. So as we made our way to each student's room, I made sure to point out to incoming families that the unassuming man in the yellow polo in the parking lot was the new president of the college. Kent's emphasis on personal connections continued throughout the pandemic. Even when physical distancing was emphasized, Kent, who also lives on campus, visited students safely outdoors while the campus was physically closed. Checking in on students who could not return home during the pandemic was top of mind for him. They, of course, were his neighbors and his community. Kent shared in celebrating that community earlier this year when he attended his first and second Goucher commencement ceremony. During a beautiful and hot weekend in May, he celebrated 2 graduating classes who succeeded in matriculating through hybrid and remote learning environments. The outdoor ceremonies on the Margaret M. Winslow Great Lawn were a welcomed revival of the campus and virtually brought the community together. Our graduates have made and continue to make undeniable contributions to science, arts, nonprofits, politics, and many other areas. They have lived and continue to live remarkable lives and make an impact on the world around them. Tying them together is the shared foundation of a Goucher liberal arts education, which combines the arts, humanities, and the sciences. It has prepared its graduates for the dynamic employment opportunities available today and emerging in the future. Our alumni and alumni continue to pursue impactful careers with companies like Microsoft, Apple, T. Rowe Price, the New York Times, or graduate work at schools like Yale, Johns Hopkins. Our alumni network also includes graduates of Goucher's Welsh Center for Graduate and Professional Studies. These talented and driven scholars are devoted to their teaching, writing, and preservation. Not only does Goucher make an impact on its students and alumni make an impact on our alma mater. For example, over 71% of the funds raised by the college last year came from alumni and alumni. That high engagement number underscores the vital role Goucher plays in our lives. For many of us, our time at Goucher was life-changing. It inspired us to be successful and to give back to our communities. And so, Kent, we are very excited to continue to watch this beloved institution thrive under your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. It's now my pleasure to welcome Goucher College alum and former trustee John A. Olszewski Jr., class of 2004, Baltimore County Executive, who will share greetings on behalf of the government.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be here today. It, in many ways, represents an incredible full circle moment. It seems like just yesterday I was giving student greetings on behalf of then President Unger's inauguration, same inauguration where Dr. Hrabowski spoke. You know, it is indeed an honor to be here with you, President Devereaux, in this full circle moment. And I'll just add that I think that's what Goucher is all about, creating those full circle moments and that full circle connectivity that you've heard from so many people who had an opportunity to speak before me. The full circle connectivity to our world, whether it's Baltimore or traveling abroad. So today, as Baltimore County Executive, on behalf of our peers in local, state, and federal government, I bring greetings and congratulations and share my honor in joining you today for this inauguration. Certainly, this is another important and historic milestone in Goucher's history. Today, we celebrate the inauguration of President Kent Devereaux, though, as has been noted, this fall begins his third academic year as president. Indeed, Mr. President, you have already begun leaving your mark and building on the great things that Goucher has always represented. And I think it's a testament that those who have gotten to know you the best through these years have so many wonderful things to say. So President Devereaux, congratulations on your inauguration and a warm, sincere official welcome to Baltimore County. We are so proud to have you here and leading Goucher College. Over the 2 years you have served as president, I know that you have come to love the communities of Baltimore County and of Greater Baltimore. These have been 2 of the hardest years of all of our lives. So to assume the presidency in this moment is certainly a test. It's a crisis that none of us could have expected, but one in which you have continued to lead. You've led a campus community through ensuring that Goucher continues to set the standard for higher education. I thank you for your strong leadership throughout this extended crisis and for your efforts to keep your students, staff, and our surrounding communities safe. It's safe to say that Goucher has always been a unique school with a vibrant campus and pioneering students, but we've also always been close-knit. We've always enjoyed serving our local community, traveling abroad, and experiencing once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. With your experience as a Fulbright scholar, composer, someone who's gone abroad to learn in other countries about other cultures, you bring to Goucher the skills and experiences that will take this institution to new levels. Building on that legacy is important not just for the Goucher community, however. It is important for our county, this region, our state, and our world. So, on behalf of Baltimore County, your friends in government, a sincere and hearty congratulations to you, President Devereaux, and the entire family on your official inauguration. I look forward to seeing you build on this school's incredible history and legacy and continuing to make us all #Goucher proud.
And now, please join me in welcoming the Westerlys. Thank you, Westerlies, for the wonderful music. It's now my pleasure to welcome Freeman A. Rabowski III, President of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, who will share greetings on behalf of educational institutions and will give today's keynote address.
I think that Johnny O wanted to remind Sandy and me just how old we have become since it's been so long. But I want Secretary Fielder to know that as time went on, I was so impressed by this young man that we recruited him to UMBC, and he is now Dr. Olszewski, PhD in public policy. Not every day that I count executive. Give him a round of applause as a PhD. I am so honored to be here when Kent invited me to talk. And yet, while I have prepared remarks, I will give, I had a thought as I watched people come to the lectern. And I remembered that we in this country often are healthy enough to be critical of our country. It is a part of being a part of a democracy. But we should also be healthy enough to say when we're making progress. 50 years ago, we could not have seen these young men of color getting up to speak as the head of the Alumni and Alumni Association. We would not have seen a math professor looking like this brilliant young man who can talk as a fellow mathematician with both humor and compassion. Not every day that a mathematician can do that. just being honest, right? And finally, some of your board members, Lisa, as young African-American alumni years ago, could never have imagined being on the board of this institution, and yet they are. We have made progress in the United States and at Goucher College. Give Goucher a round of applause for what it has done. It is very special, very special. I begin with words from Juan Felipe Herrera, the former Latinx Poet Laureate, who said, "Your friends and your associates and the people around you and the environment that you live in and the speakers around you are all poetry makers. If your mother tells your stories, if she tells you stories, you're a poetry maker. If your father does, he is a poetry maker. If your grandma tells you stories, she is a poetry maker. And that's who forms our poetics. We're living in a time when poetry, literature, philosophy, and the liberal arts are more important than ever. Today, we celebrate the installation of one of America's admired leaders, academic leaders. If you want to know what Kent Devereaux loves, besides his family and education in Goucher, just watch his head moving as the music is going. It was fascinating to get how he was into it. His family, I'm sure, knows what I'm talking about. This ceremony formally endows the president with the responsibilities of the office, and it gives the university a chance to hear his vision for the college. It is significant that this is his third year, so he's had a chance to think about what he really wants to say. He and I had an amazing conversation about his vision. This is a special occasion on which Kent Devereaux has been preparing for years. President Devereaux, Kent, is a widely known master team builder. He knows how to motivate people and to support them in envisioning the possibilities for Goucher College. Goucher has a rich history of innovation and success in producing leaders, attorneys and judges and writers and physicians and scholars and artists and public officials. The college is known for its focus on social justice during particular times. In the civil rights movement, there were women here who actually went to jail. And today, students are known for that tradition of being activists and volunteers in working to create opportunities and to lift others up. As I think about the importance of the liberal arts at a time when so many people question the liberal arts, I think about the words of Frederick Lawrence, the secretary of Phi Beta Kappa, who said this. He first says that Justice Louis Brandeis was the person who called America's most important office that of private citizen. He says that there are 3 sets of skills needed to perform the duties of the office of private citizen. 1, one must be able to turn raw information into knowledge. 2, one must be able to evaluate arguments. And 3, one must be able to engage in reasoned debate with others and to listen to other perspectives. Today, more than ever, our colleges need to produce people who can think critically, as Lisa talked about, who can feel deeply, who are committed to eliminating the gaps in our society, academic achievement gaps, public health crises, the economic challenges that we face. Well, President Devereaux understands all these things. At a time when it's much easier to be cynical, he is with a positive force, realistic, but a positive force in our society. He understands that we must be saying to each other, we will get through this period. And so I leave you with the words of 2 great women who founded different types of academic institutions. The first, one of my heroes, Mary McLeod Bethune, a close friend of Eleanor Roosevelt's and the founder of the Daytona Literary Training School for Girls of Color in 1904. She wrote these words, "In each experience of my life, I have had to step out of one little space of the known light into a large area of darkness. I had to stand a while in the darkness, and then gradually, God has given me the light, but not to linger in it, but as soon as that light has become familiar, then the call has always come to step out ahead and go back into the new darkness." And then finally, I challenge Goucher, all of you, to listen to the words of Mary Lyon, who founded the Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, the first of the 7 sister institutions, in 1837. She said this to the early graduates, very simple and yet very profound. Go where no one else will go. Do what no one else will do. Kent, President Devereaux, You are a president who will lead with your head and your heart. You will inspire us all. You will keep hope alive. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, President Rabowski. Now, Lisa Stromberg will install Kent Devereaux as the 12th president of Goucher College.
President Devereaux, will you please join me at the podium? President Devereaux, you will now receive the Presidential Medallion, which is the seal of the college and the symbol of the office of the President. By virtue of the authority granted me by the Board of the Trustees of Goucher College, I commit into your care and stewardship the institution we love, Goucher College. The trustees support you in your role of strengthening and advancing the mission and core values of Goucher College, an institution with a proud past and an even brighter future under your leadership. The Goucher College Board of Trustees places its complete trust in you and wishes you a warm welcome to the Goucher community. Ladies and gentlemen, I now officially present to you the 12th president of Goucher College, Kent Devereaux. We did it.
Distinguished guests, it is now my pleasure to welcome Goucher College's 12th president, Kent Devereaux.
So good afternoon. To our distinguished guests, my fellow university and college presidents, provosts, and delegates, to the assembled Goucher faculty, staff, and students, and especially our student volunteers and student ambassadors, my fellow Gophers, to my friends and family members, distinguished clergy, and most of all the trustees of Goucher College, who have entrusted me with the great honor of leading this institution. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today on our beautiful campus. I'm so happy you have chosen to come together with us here to celebrate this important occasion in Goucher's history. I want to extend a very heartfelt thanks to our board chair, Lisa Stromberg, and our previous board chair, Ruth Lenbrough. We've been through a lot these past 2 years. I want to extend a special thank you to Baltimore County Executive Olszewski and to my esteemed colleague, President Hrabowski, for your very, very gracious remarks. I also want to extend a very special thank you to Goucher's 10th president, Dr. Sandy Unger, for joining us here on stage today. And to my two other predecessors, Dr. Jose Antonio Bowen, number 11, and Dr. Judy Jolie Morez, number 9, who are not able to join us here today, but I'm sure are watching online from Texas and Arizona, as well as our former board chair and college historian, Marilyn Warshawski, who is joining us online from Colorado. I wish you all well. This is also a special day for someone else who couldn't be here with us today, but I thought it would be great if we mentioned her. I hope you all join me in wishing a very happy birthday to our alumna, Evelyn Dyke Schrodel, whose birthday is today and who turns 104. And I would be remiss if I did not thank the Goucher College Chamber Singers under the direction of Professor Danny McDavitt for their beautiful contribution to this ceremony. And I offer a special shout out to the Westerlys, Riley, Chloe, Andy, and Willem, who travel all the way down from Brooklyn to share their music with us today, and who I have known, most of them, since they were in high school students in Seattle many, many years ago. In fact, Willem was my summer intern. And I also want to say a very thanks to my very lovely wife, Jan, and our son, Danny, who was able to join us here from New York. My sister Leslie and her family, my cousins, my second cousins who are here today. And I finally want to send a very special greeting to my mother and my brother and my sisters, who could not travel here today from California because of the pandemic, but are joining us online. Hi, Mom. So as I look out at this amazing Goucher community assembled here today, I think of how much the events of these past few years have taken a toll on all of us. As if a global pandemic was not enough, we've been confronted by the scourges of racism, a harrowing rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Asian hate, an outright assault on our democracy that I doubt any of us could even have imagined a few years ago. Add to this the frightening increase in wildfires, hurricanes, the rising temperatures we've experienced this year, and that science is definitively linked to the effects of global warming, and it would seem we now live in a world that would test even the faith of Job. And let's not forget the cicadas. So I believe all of us realize we live in a world right now that so desperately needs healing. The literal healing that must take place to stem this global pandemic and end its suffering that has already claimed nearly 5 million lives worldwide. The racial reckoning that must take place within our own country if we are ever to heal a damaged nation and realize that most elusive promise of forming a more perfect union. The profound changes that we and our students' generation must champion to fundamentally alter the course of global development and reverse the effects of global warming. In short, we need to embrace as our calling the concept encapsulated so beautifully in the Hebrew term tikkun olam, literally to mend or repair the world. If ever there was a time that called on all of us to come together to heal this world, that time is now. And I realize that many of us are emotionally and physically exhausted, understandably apprehensive and anxious as we emerge from this pandemic, only to confront the reality of an America that at times we do not recognize. However, it is also clear to me that while none of us at Goucher are exactly sure what this new post-pandemic world will look like, our determination to realize the original vision of John Franklin Goucher and Mary Fisher to provide access to education for those who have systematically denied that opportunity in the past has not dimmed one bit, and perhaps has even been strengthened. Then again, as college president, now officially Goucher College's 12th college president, I may be predisposed to believe this, since as my friend Barbara Brittingham likes to say, there are only two kinds of college presidents, optimist and pathological optimist. So I hope I'm not the latter, but I think not. I take strength in the proof that when people put aside their differences and come together around our common humanity, we can achieve the impossible. I see our way forward in the fact that just this week, we surpassed 6 billion doses of the COVID-19 vaccine worldwide, delivered in less than a year, an achievement that would have seemed like science fiction 20 years ago. I see our way forward in the simple acts of kindness and care I witness on this campus almost every day, in the excitement I hear listening to our students share with me details about their summer science research project, how their classes are proceeding, or their plans for life after graduation. I see our way forward in the amazing, inspiring people who I am blessed to have the opportunity to work with every day at Goucher College. People dedicated to realizing that vision of John Franklin Goucher articulated over 135 years ago. That's what gives me hope. However, I am also a realist. I realize that our future is not all unicorns and rainbows, rather that to achieve our true potential, we must engage in some difficult conversations in the years ahead. That as we become a more global and inclusive campus, it may challenge some of our own worldviews as we more broadly embrace the world around us. I also firmly believe that in addition to celebrating the bold vision of inclusion that Reverend Goucher professed, we also have a moral obligation to confront not only the legacy of the land that the college currently occupies, but to ensure that Goucher College remains a beacon of hope for our students who come to seeking us better opportunities today and in the future. We cannot change the past, however, we can reckon with it and recognize within it our obligation to chart a better future together. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to meet Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler, senior pastor of Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia, the first church in America founded by a free black man in 1794, a time when in much of this new nation, white and black congregants could not even worship together in the same building. Allen had purchased his freedom together through hard work and resourcefulness by the age of 23, but only after being first born to slavery on a Chew family plantation in Delaware. Almost exactly 100 years ago today, Goucher College's fourth president, William Guth, negotiated the purchase of 421 acres of pasture and wooded land where we have come together to celebrate today. Land he purchased from the Chew family. So you see, we are all bound together. A Methodist minister bent on providing women who were denied admission to Johns Hopkins University at the time with access to higher education, and a young black Methodist minister bent on providing his community with a safe place to worship. And while today we are neither a Methodist college nor a religiously affiliated institution, these same values of diversity, access, and inclusion continue to ring true across our campus. We are not defined by our past, but we are informed by it and stronger for it. Now is the moment for us to create our own history, a history that embodies our values and opens up new possibilities for all of us, but especially our students. We have an exciting future ahead of us. I look forward to charting that future together with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kent Devereaux. We ask that the audience now please stand for the benediction, led by Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler, Senior Pastor of the Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia, and remain standing at their seats until the recession has concluded. The audience is invited to meet President Devereaux to celebrate his installation as president at a reception in the Dorsey Center courtyard immediately following the ceremony.
Thank you, President Devereaux, for that wonderful challenge and for how you spoke to our hearts, your honesty about the past and the hope for the future, which gives us strength for this present moment. This is my first time in Gopher country, but I suspect, knowing your president, it won't be the last time. So I look forward to coming back to visit again. Let us receive now the benediction. Thou who's called by many names, we come to the end of this program and the official beginning of this presidency with hearts beaming and full of gratitude and appreciation for what has transpired here today. We are grateful for an administration that embraces the unknown and does not run from it. And so we pray now for their success, whether it be on Zoom or in person. We're grateful for a president who listens to students in need and facing crisis and questions, and we pray that he will always continue to hold difficult and courageous conversations. We're grateful for his administration that is not afraid to look at the history of this place, to acknowledge that there is also unresolved pain and hurt. We ask now that the words of hope spoken here today will become reality. We ask that you will undergird your servant, Dr. Kent Devereaux, with all that he needs for the facing of this hour. We pray for his success, for if he is successful, the students and the alumni and alumni succeed. If he is successful, the faculty and the staff succeed. If he is successful, the board and the community that surrounds Goucher succeed. And now as we depart this place, we call upon the paraphrased words of the hymn writer. God of grace and God of glory, on thy people pour thy power, crown thine ancient Goucher story, bring her bud to glorious flower. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour. Amen.